James Martinez pushed his mop bucket down the silent hallway of Kepler 442b research station. The wheels squeaked softly, and his boots made lonely echoes on the metal floor. The air smelled faintly of cleaning chemicals and recycled oxygen. The station was far away from Earth, orbiting a cold, rocky planet where nothing grew, nothing lived, and nothing made a sound except the hum of machines. It was the third shift, late at night, when most people were asleep. 200 researchers, miners, and staff lived here, but in these hours James always felt he was the last person awake in the universe. His job was simple: clean the labs, mop the corridors, empty the bins. No one ever thanked him. Scientists looked past him. Miners barely noticed him. He was invisible, but James carried a reason to keep going. Every paycheck he sent back to Earth helped his younger sister, Lisa. She was studying to be a doctor. She had always been the smart one, the hopeful one. He had promised her that no matter how lonely or boring his work became, he would keep working until she finished school. That promise was his anchor. Still, nights were heavy. Sometimes, as he mopped the endless halls, James whispered to himself just to hear another voice. Sometimes he imagined what it would feel like if someone, anyone, truly saw him. That night, something strange broke the silence. As James rounded the corner near the xenobiology lab, he saw a shimmer against the wall. At first, he thought it was a broken piece of equipment, maybe light bouncing off glass. But when he stepped closer, he stopped dead in his tracks. A small creature sat curled on the floor. It was no bigger than a house cat, but its body glittered as though made of living crystal. Its scales shimmered in rainbow colors, shifting and glowing with every breath. Tiny wings folded against its back, trembling weakly. Its long tail curled tight, like it was trying to make itself smaller. James's heart skipped. He knew thousands of species had been discovered on this planet, but none looked like this. And none had ever. The creature raised its head. Its eyes were large, glowing like twin stars, and they locked onto his. James felt a shock in his mind, like someone had brushed his thoughts with soft fingers. Then a voice appeared inside his head. "Can I sleep here tonight?" James froze. His mop slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor. His heart hammered in his chest. You can talk," he whispered, staring in disbelief. The voice came again, soft and musical, like bells carried on the wind. "My nest clan is gone. The deep burners came and made the stones sleep forever. I flew until my wings could carry me no more. Now I am alone." James didn't move. He understood what the little one meant. The mining teams had been using thermal drills to extract energy from the planet's crust. Those machines could collapse entire cave systems. This creature, this hatchling, had lost its family because of them. He should call xenobiology at once. Protocol demanded it. New life forms were too important to hide. But when he looked into the hatchling's eyes, he didn't see a specimen. He saw fear. He saw exhaustion. He saw a child. James knelt down slowly. "Of course you can stay," he said softly. "You're safe here. Are you hurt? Hungry?" The creature's eyes brightened just a little. "You would shelter a stranger, human? Your scent is strange to me, but your heart is warm." James swallowed. His throat felt tight. Carefully, he took off his jacket and spread it on the floor. The hatchling limped closer, curled into the fabric, and closed its eyes. A faint sound filled the air, like wind chimes. It was purring. After a long moment, the voice whispered in his mind again. "My true name cannot be spoken in your tongue, but it means Star Whisper." James smiled gently. "Star Whisper. That's beautiful." The hatchling's tail twitched, and the glow of its scales softened, as if comfort itself made it shine. James sat beside it, staring in wonder. A part of him was still scared. What if someone found out? What if the station scientists took the hatchling away? But another part of him, a part that had been empty for years, was suddenly full. He had spent so long invisible, but now he mattered. To this tiny, lost creature, he was not just a janitor. He was safety. He didn't know it yet, but letting the hatchling rest by his side that night would change not only his lonely life, but the fate of humanity itself. James did not sleep that night. He sat in the corner of the xenobiology lab, his eyes heavy but his heart restless. The little hatchling, Star Whisper, was curled in his jacket, glowing softly like a lantern in the dark. The gentle sound of its purring filled the empty room. For the first time in years, James did not feel alone. He kept staring at the creature, afraid it might vanish if he looked away. Was this real? A talking dragon hatchling? He rubbed his tired eyes, but every time he looked, Star Whisper was still there. When morning came, James faced a problem. Someone would walk into the lab. Someone would see. But how could he explain? He thought about reporting it, about calling Dr. Chen, the chief of xenobiology. Yet his chest tightened at the idea. Scientists would take Star Whisper away. They would cut, measure, and cage it. James could not let that happen. The hatchling stirred awake, blinking its star-like eyes. "You stayed," it whispered in his mind. "Of course I stayed," James replied. "You looked like you needed someone." Star Whisper lifted its tiny head, eyes glowing with something like gratitude. "Most tall ones turn away from the small, but you do not. Why?" James sighed, running a hand through his messy hair. "Because I know how it feels to be invisible." The hatchling tilted its head, studying him. For a moment, James felt as though it saw through every wall he had built around his lonely heart. Then, Star Whisper stepped onto his arm with its crystal claws and climbed onto his shoulder. "Then we are alike," it said simply. James felt his chest warm. He had never heard words that fit him so well. The day passed quietly. James found ways to hide Star Whisper. He placed it inside a supply cart when he moved between holes. He slipped into empty labs when he needed to mop. The little creature stayed close, whispering thoughts into his mind, asking about Earth, about oceans, about trees and skies. James answered as best he could, painting pictures with simple words. Hours later, while cleaning near the geologist's storage, James showed Star Whisper a tray of crystals collected from the mines. They were dull rocks to him, but the hatchling's eyes widened. It reached out a small claw, and the crystals lifted into the air. James gasped as the stones began to spin, arranging themselves into a floating circle. The hatchling hummed softly, and the crystals lit up, glowing with blue and gold veins. Slowly, they connected into a perfect geometric shape that pulsed like a heartbeat. The room filled with a low, peaceful tone, like music made of light. James's mouth fell open. How are you doing that?" Star Whisper's wings fluttered. "They remember the songs of the deep. I only remind them." James reached out a trembling hand. The air around the floating crystal shape was warm and alive, like it carried hidden energy. He felt his skin tingle. "This is incredible," he whispered. Star Whisper tilted its head proudly. "Your kind burns a stone to steal its fire. But the stone wishes to sing, not to scream. If you listen, it gives power freely." James froze. Could this little being be saying that humans had been mining the wrong way all along? That the crystals could give more than fire, clean, endless energy? His mind spun. If true, it could change everything. But before James could ask more, the door slid open. Dr. Elizabeth Chen walked in, holding a datapad, her eyes sharp and tired. She stopped mid-step. James froze, panic rushing through him. The tray of crystals was still floating in the air, glowing bright. And there, perched on his shoulder like a living jewel, sat Star Whisper. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. "James, what in the world is that creature doing to our samples?" James's mouth went dry. He searched for words, but nothing came. Star Whisper didn't move. The glowing crystals slowly shifted into a delicate mandala, turning gently in the air. The room hummed with a sound so soft it made the air feel sacred. Dr. Chen's mouth fell open. This isn't possible." James swallowed and finally found his voice. "It's not hurting them," he said quietly. "It's teaching them to sing." Silence filled the lab. Dr. Chen stayed, unable to look away. James's heart raced. The secret was out. The hatchling was no longer just his. And yet, deep down, James knew this was only the beginning. Dr. Elizabeth Chen stood frozen in the doorway, her datapad almost slipping from her hands. The glowing crystals hovered in the air, spinning slowly like a star map. Their soft hum vibrated through the room, gentle and alive. Her eyes darted to James, then to the creature perched on his shoulder. "James, do you understand what you found? This could be the discovery of the century." James swallowed, his throat dry. "It's not something I found. It's someone. Its name is Star Whisper." The hatchling turned its star-like eyes toward Dr. Chen, but its voice came only into James's mind. "The tall one has sharp eyes, but her thoughts are cold." James hesitated, then spoke softly, as if answering both. "It doesn't trust you. It trusts me." Dr. Chen blinked in surprise. "It can communicate." James nodded. "Not just communicate. It understands things. These crystals, it made them sing. It says there's power inside them we've never seen." Dr. Chen stepped closer, her expression torn between wonder and calculation. She reached out a hand, but Star Whisper hissed softly, its scale flashing. James raised a calming hand. "Easy. It doesn't like strangers touching." The hatchling's voice whispered again, soft and certain. "The tall thinkers want to take and take. I will not sing for them. I will only sing for you." James's chest tightened. He looked at Dr. Chen. "It says, it'll only talk to me." For a long moment, Dr. Chen stared at him, her sharp mind racing. Then she exhaled slowly. "If that's true, then you've just become the most important person on this station, James." The word struck him like a blow. He was just a janitor. Invisible. Replaceable. Now suddenly, the future of human knowledge rested on him. His hands shook as he pulled his jacket tighter around Star Whisper. The next days were a storm. Dr. Chen wanted to study the hatchling, but every time she tried to ask her questions, Star Whisper turned away. It only answered James. When scientists brought instruments close, the crystals refused to glow. When James asked gently, the air itself shimmered with energy. The station began to change. Rooms once filled with quiet machines now hummed with glowing patterns of floating crystals. Star Whisper guided James's hands, teaching him to arrange them. When he did, energy flowed like water. Clean, endless, silent power. The lights of the station shone brighter. The engines ran smoother. Miners, scientists, engineers, they all started noticing. The janitor they once ignored now walked with a glowing creature on his shoulder, a creature that could make the impossible real. People whispered when he passed. Some looked with awe, others with jealousy. At night, when the corridors were quiet again, James sat by the viewing window with Star Whisper. The twin moons of Kepler 442b rose slowly, painting the sky silver. He spoke softly, almost to himself. "Why me? Why trust me?" Star Whisper's eyes glowed gently. Its voice touched his thoughts with warmth. "Because you asked not what I could give, but what I needed. You gave shelter without knowing my songs. That is rare among your kind." James felt his throat tighten. For years, he had been nothing more than a shadow, yet to this little being, he was everything. But not everyone felt the same. Rumors spread through the station. Some said James was hiding knowledge. Others said he was controlling the hatchling for himself. Tension grew. Commanders sent messages back to Earth. Soon, more eyes would turn toward Kepler 442b. One evening, Dr. Chen pulled James aside. Her face was serious, her voice low. "James, you don't understand the weight of this. If Earth Command learns that this creature only trusts you, they'll take you both into custody. They'll separate you. They'll try to force it. And if they succeed, or if they fail, either way, it could end badly." James held Star Whisper tighter against his chest. The hatchling purred softly, unaware of the danger in her words. His voice was firm. "I won't let them take him. He's not an experiment. He's a child. He's my friend." Dr. Chen studied him for a long time. Then, For the first time, her sharp expression softened. Then protect that trust, James, because right now it may be the only thing holding back the storm. That night, James sat awake, the hatchling curled against his arm. He listened to its soft breathing, felt the warmth of its tiny body. He remembered the loneliness that once filled these holes. And he knew, deep down, that his life would never return to what it was before. The hatchling had asked for a place to sleep. Instead, it had given him a reason to live. But far beyond the stars, powerful people were waiting for news. And soon, their arrival would test a fragile bond between a lonely janitor and a lost dragon hatchling. The message from Earth arrived sooner than James expected. A sleek transport ship cut across the black sky and docked with the station. Soldiers in polished suits of armor stepped out, their boots heavy against the metal floor. Behind them came officials with cold eyes and sharp voices. They carried authority like a weapon. James stood in the corner of the lab with Star-Whisper perched on his shoulder. The hatchling's scales glowed faintly, but its body pressed tight against him. It could feel the tension in the air. The lead officer spoke with no warmth. "We are here for the specimen. Step aside, Mr. Martinez." James's hands tightened into fists. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "He's not a specimen. He has a name. Star-Whisper." The officer's eyes narrowed. "You are Janitor. Do not pretend you understand what you're holding. Humanity's future depends on studying it properly." Star-Whisper's voice entered James's thoughts, soft and worried. "The cold ones will cut. They will bind. I cannot sing in cages." James swallowed hard. He turned to Dr. Chen, who stood nearby, her face pale but thoughtful. "Tell them," he begged. "Tell them it won't work if they take him." Dr. Chen hesitated. Her sharp mind weighed every risk. Then she lifted her chin. "It's true. The hatchling only communicates through him. If you remove James, you lose everything." Murmurs spread among the officials. The officer's jaw tightened. "Then we'll take both of them." Star-Whisper shivered. Its scales dimmed, like its light was fading. James felt anger rise in his chest. 4 years he had been invisible. But now, for this small life, he was the only one who mattered. He stepped forward, voice trembling but strong. "You don't understand. You can't force this. You can't buy trust with cages or threats. He chose me because I cared before I knew his worth. That's something you'll never get with machines or orders. Only kindness." The room fell silent. Even the soldiers hesitated. Star-Whisper lifted its tiny head. Its voice filled James's mind, and this time, the mind of everyone in the room. The cleaning one speaks truth. The tall ones burn and take, but he gave without asking. "For this, I will share the songs of the stars." The crystals in the lab rose into the air, glowing brighter than before. They spun faster and faster, forming shapes of galaxies, rivers of light flowing through space. The hum turned into music so deep it seemed to come from the bones of the universe. Everyone froze, eyes wide, as the hatchling song unfolded around them. Equations danced in glowing patterns. The secrets of faster-than-light travel, endless clean energy, and quantum communication shone in symbols that even the scientists struggled to understand. James stood at the center of it all, the hatchling glowing on his shoulder. His heart swelled. He wasn't invisible anymore. He was the bridge. When the light faded, silence fell. No one moved. The lead officer cleared his throat, but his voice was shaken. This changes everything." Dr. Chen stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "It changes everything because of trust. Remember that. If you try to control it, we'll lose it all." Star-Whisper nestled closer to James. Its voice was soft now, like a lullaby. "Among all your kind, you alone asked what I needed. That is why I chose you. And that is why the star songs whisper that humans will not conquer the galaxy through fire, but through kindness." James's eyes stung. He thought of all the nights he had been alone, pushing his mop bucket down empty holes. He thought of his sister, Lisa, working hard on Earth. He thought of every moment he had felt invisible. And now, Now he stood at the center of humanity's first step into the stars. The soldiers lowered their weapons. The officials said nothing. The air in the room had changed. Something greater than orders or titles filled it. Hope. Later that night, James sat by the viewing window with Star whisper curled against him. The twin moons rose over Kepler-4 42b, glowing like silver lanterns. The hatchling purred softly, and James felt peace. "You know," he said quietly, scratching behind its crystal-scaled head, "when you asked to sleep here that night, I thought I was just helping a lost little animal. I never imagined you'd help humanity find its place among the stars." Star Whisper's eyes glowed warmly. All great journeys begin with small kindnesses. James smiled, his chest finally free of loneliness. For the first time in his life, he wasn't invisible. He was seen. He mattered. And beside him, so small yet so powerful, was a friend who had chosen him above all others. The Janitor and the Hatchling. Together, they would change the galaxy.